In computer science, there is a very important topic, that is software engineering. So we'll follow a planned approach. We are going to follow the book, very famous book from Pressman and Maxim, Software Engineering, a Practitioner's Approach. The copyright of the content all belongs to these gentlemen. So I'm just using it for the educational purpose. The first chapter is the nature of software. So all we are going to talk about is software, software engineering, software product, software practices. The first question we need to ask, what is computer software? What is software engineering? So computer software, there is a combination of two words, soft and ware. So where you will find it, in the back of hardware, malware, spyware. So software is the product that the people who are going to make it, maintain it, that is the software professional. So this is a product. And those who are going to make it and support it, that is, if you have a mobile, you have programs in it. We call it as apps. For example, A plus B is a simple program. So if I give it 2 and 3, what will be the result? It should be 5. So basically, computer software is nothing but program or group of programs. It is solving the problem, business need or a specific problem. The second question we should ask is, who does it? So there are a number of categories. There are software analysts, there are software engineers, software designers, software architecture planner and testers. So there are so many. So software engineers, they build and support the software. There are many people who do it directly, indirectly, and this direction, this all people need to know these practices. How to make software, how to build software, how to maintain software. Now the third question comes, why is it important? Why it is important? Because in our lives, software plays an important role. This is a house. So if you have a house, you have to pay for a tax, say house tax. How do you pay? You pay it on your app, you pay it through some software, you pay it on browser. So basically what I'm trying to emphasize here is software is everywhere. Software is now, apps are now in our everyday life activities, like our food now. From very small, tiny to big work, it is there. So what are the steps? How do we start? How to make a software? How to build a software? Now, let us give an example. You are going, say, to a place very cold, say Alaska, Yukon, say Canada. You need warm clothes. So this is the requirement. If you go without warm clothes, you will not be able to survive. Okay? So now you have some work to be done multiple times. You want many people to do it or use it. For that, you need a software product. So you are a customer. You go to the people who are making it. That is the software people. So you are actually trying to put a problem, a specific need that is going to be solved by the making of software. That is, you are going to call them, okay, I need to go to this cold country. They'll give you clothes, warm clothes. Now question comes is, what is the work product? So what is going to come finally? See, if you are bringing coriander, you are not making the you are not eating it like this. You are putting it in some vegetable. It's a part of a meal. So work product is making or made for certain environment. It may be some services. Product can be a service also. But basically it is solving or usable for various users. There may be one users, there may be millions and billions of users. Now another question, how do I ensure that I have done it right? See, if you call yourself as a software engineer or a software person, everything which we are going to discuss now applies to you and me. If you are an end user, you should know how to work on it. How you can employ the software on an app. But You are making the software, so you need to know the environment, you need to know the customer requirement, you need to know how this software will work, how this software will fail. Okay, so if customer is coming with, say, he wants a needle, you should give him a needle, not a, say, ship. So computer software, if you talk about the leading economies, say about America, China, UK, or even India. So now computer software, computer programs and apps are the most important technology. It is basically an industry now. Though it has come from the law of unintended consequences. That is, see what happens once you have planned for certain destination, but because of some problem you go another way, but you like that way, you love it. So that is the unintended consequences. You don't want to go there, but you went and you liked it. So these are the software which has come up because of the unintended consequences, but now it is everywhere. Okay, so computer software have evolved, and slowly and gradually they are now the part of every industry, economy, and every individual's lives. Okay, so 70 years ago, no one could have ever thought that software, application, browser, internet, all these will be indispensable, inevitable technology. You take the example of business, science, engineering, anywhere, trade, technology, or even the present, extreme, extensive softwares or technologies. So the software importance has grown. As it grows, the software community, what they did, they developed different technologies. Okay, they wanted to make it less expensive. They want to make a software for good software for every computer to work on. So there are specific application domain like the website design, their implementation. It can be made for technology domain like object-oriented systems and aspect-oriented programming. This has come up. And then there are broad-based also like operating systems. Take an example of Linux. See, previously the operating system was on one floppy, 1.44 MB. Now we have strong operating system like Linux. So this is how the technology has evolved. So the individual people for whom this is made, by whom this is made, software, they are gambling their lives, jobs, comfort, safety, entertainment, decision, everything. I am saying they are even, lives. If you are sitting in an aircraft, you are giving life or gambling life because there is a software in the aircraft cockpit. So now you see an example. Even a small semicolon error can cause billions of money to just go away, to vanish. So people are counting on your software. So I want you to understand, better be right. Software needs to be right. So those who are making software, our discussion is all about the framework, how to make the software right, how to make or build, maintain software. We'll try to talk about the framework. There will be different processes, it may be methods, what you have to employ, what processes you have to adopt, and the array of tools, that is what you have to follow. Basically we are learning about the methods and procedures and the thoughts and the all the criteria along with the array of tools that we are going to use in terms of software engineering. The nature of software is dual. You have learned about light. Light has dual role. Similarly, software also has dual role. How it is? Software, first of all, it is a product. That is, any business need, it can be there. So it solves it. That is, for example, you want to book a movie ticket. For that, you have to go to a software, to an application. For example, Book My Show. So this is a software. So this transforms the information. So it is actually acting as a product. So user gives you some input to the software, or he gets some options. He books the ticket, he does the payment, he gets the ticket on his email or on his say WhatsApp, etc. So software is a product when it transforms information, that it is producing, managing, acquiring, modification is done, displaying you the information, and also transmitting via different modes. So this is how a software is working as a product. Okay, so this is the first role of software, and this is depending on, it is delivering computing potential of hardware and networks also. That is, the software can be very light, it can be very computationally very expensive. So it is a product made for certain machine it should work. But what is the second role? Software is a vehicle for delivering a product. Software itself is a product, but it also acts as a vehicle, like your car, like your truck, for delivering a product. For example, operating system. Operating system is what? It's a big giant framework that controls other programs. For example, Android. For example, you have the iOS. For example, you have the Windows. So it controls other programs. So it's a vehicle. Now operating system is a vehicle which will enhance or emancipate or help other software to work on it. Okay. So when the laptop opens, you want to work, say, Microsoft Word or Notepad++, the operating system should be there. Then we have the networking software. It affects the communication. So those software, you directly use it. There are those software which are enhancing or making you able to work on others. Please understand, software industry has become a dominant factor in the economy. For example, we have manufacturing industries, mining industries. Software is also a very giant, multi-billion industry. Even if you talk about America or Kenya. Okay. Previously, one or two programmers would make some program. One person may do everything. That was called a lone programmer. But now we have big companies. There is a whole setup. There are all these software engineering practices which we have learned. But still we are making computer-based systems. And those lone programmers, the question being asked is same from a single person and now a big company. Means the road if you make, everyone will ask about how it is safe, how much lane it has, how many lane it has, whether it is safe. In the rain, how does it behave? So the question remains the same. Why does it take so long to get software finished? We commit, say, 2 months, even we commit 2 years. Why it is always 3 months or 4 months? Why it is not 2 years but 3 years? Why are development costs so high? Say 1 million, 10 lakh, I'll make it. Why it is 12 lakh, 1.2 million when it is made? Why can't we find all the errors? When you give the software to the customers, why all the errors cannot be, say, anticipated or can be cleared out? Why there are always errors even after you have delivered the customer? And why we are spending so much time and effort to maintain the existing programs? For example, if the AMC is being given to you, some upgrade is there. So the time and effort is too much. Time, cost, effort, and then why can't we measure it? Like if you take potatoes, 1 kg is what? Or 1 pound is what? Why cannot we do it with the software? So these questions should be in your mind, because we will be answering these questions in software engineering practice. So these questions has given the advent of certain practices, and these are called as software engineering practices. If you are an engineer, if you are a software guy, you need to know all this. What is a software? There are so many definitions of software. We will be talking about this definition. But if you want to write it somewhere or to tell someone, software is instruction, data structure, documentation. For example, instruction. Now, 2 plus 3, if you are writing it in C, C++, Java or any other language, say Python. So let us say C++. C in you have to enter, so you have to write a code C in. You want to display, C out you have to write. C equals A plus B, these are the variables you'll use, some mathematical operators you will use. Basically, you're writing instructions. These are computer programs. So these instructions, computer programs, when these will execute, they will provide the desired features, function, and even the performance. 2 plus 3, how much time does it take? Say 1 millisecond, 1 nanosecond, 1 minute. So these instructions are certain code programs that will provide the feature, function, performance for what it is written. Then the data structure. For example, stack, queues, linked list. Whenever we make a software, we are dealing with, say, small data or humongous data. Humongous data, right? So the data structure that will enable these programs to properly, adequately manipulate the information. Talk about YouTube and Facebook. They are getting, I cannot just number it, huge data, big data. Then the third thing, which is often not more talked, is documentation. And this documentation describes the operation and the use of the programs. That is, right from the, say, software requirement till the end of the project closure. So instruction, data structure, documentation. Now, most important thing is, what is the difference between software and hardware in terms of how they behave? Okay, in a computer, you can touch certain things like your keyboard, like your mouse. These are hardware. But there are certain application you are working on, say Word or VLC player. These are software. The software you cannot touch. One is tangible, one is intangible. Software is logical rather than physical system element. That is, you can experience it, you can feel it, but you cannot touch it. And what is the major difference between these two, software and hardware? Software doesn't wear out. And this has a very deep meaning. Software doesn't wear out. Okay, how do we prove it? How do we discuss it? I'll show it or discuss it with a diagram. Now this is a diagram showing the x-axis as time and the y-axis as a failure rate. So as the time increases, the failure rate, how does it behave? So this relationship, what you see here, is the bathtub curve. I'm talking about hardware here. So we are talking about hardware, and this relationship, which is, we are calling it as bathtub curve, and this is indicating the hardware is showing high failure rate. For example, your car or any manufactured product. Initially, when it is being made, there are multiple problems, maybe because of the design or some manufacturing problems or defects. So these defects, initially they are very heavy, very strong, and these defects are corrected. For example, the filter is not working. So initially the defects are high. Once these defects are corrected, the failure rate will drop, and now we have a steady state. So it was high initially, then there will be a steady state. Now when you use a hardware for quite long, for example using a car, when you buy it new, it will be okay for 2-3 years, no problem with that. Okay, if any problem is there, you will find it in the first day. But after that, you have environment effect, dust, vibration. Even if you are not using it properly, there may be temperature extremes you might be using in, say, Sahara Desert or, say, Alaska. So the failure rate rises again, because now there are hardware components that will be subjected to the environmental maladies, right? So this wear out or wearing and tearing will happen. So hardware begins to wear out. So that is how I'm saying software doesn't wear out like this. If you want to reduce this software deterioration, what you have to do? You have to make a good software design. We'll talk about that design. But let us understand what is the difference now with what happens with software. Now, as I said, software has no problem with the dust, with the tear or wear, or you can say any of the environmental maladies or problem. It is not subjected to, it is not susceptible to. So in theory, what you will see is an idealized curve. That initially you will have some problems, they are defects, undiscovered, you haven't addressed them. Initially you will have high failure rates, But once all these defects are being solved, the problem will not be there. It will be an ideal line, a straight line parallel to x-axis, right? But what does it mean? Software doesn't wear out, as I said. It is not hardware. But it deteriorates. That means, what is deteriorate? What deteriorate and the wear out? What is the difference between them? Okay, there will be some problem, not like hardware, but there will be some problem because of the nature of the software industry. Where actual curve is different, because when you make a software, there will be certain changes in the software. For example, this is the first change. Whenever this change will come, there will be a spike. The client will come, he says, no, I don't want this. I want this functionality. So there will be a spike. That is the failure rate with time will increase. Then you will solve it. Okay, it will try to come to the idealized curve. But again, some changes will be requested. You will again change and there will be again a spike, because this changes in the code of the software will propagate or will create certain more problems, certain more defects. So this is the actual curve. That is why we are saying that software doesn't wear out, but it deteriorates, right? So every software failure is all about the design. If you have not designed it properly, there will be problem. There will be error in the design. There will be software failure for sure. So you need to make software such that if you change, no problem happens. So software is ubiquitous. That means it is everywhere. But if we want to divide it into certain categories, we can have 7 broad categories. 7. These are called the application domains. Application domains. As I said, there are software almost everywhere. So the first category is system software. System software. For example, a part, say a manufacturing part, or when it is combined with certain more parts, it becomes a system. Similarly, this is a collection of programs. So it is working by itself, or it is providing a service to other programs. So we can divide this system software again into 2 parts. So before I can tell you about these parts, these system software, we need to learn about determinate and indeterminate. Determinate is when you know what are the inputs, how much time it is going to process, and what will be the outputs. That is, if we know 2 and 3 is coming, we know how much time does it take to add them and what will be the result, because it is predictable that it will be 5. Then we call it is a determinate type of data. When indeterminate is there, that means we don't know the inputs, we don't know the timings, even we are not aware or anticipate the prediction. So in the determinate, we have compilers, editors, and the file management utilities. So they are processing these complex but the determinate kind of information structures or data in a easy word. Compiler that converts the high level language into machine language, editors like your Word, etc. When we talk about indeterminate kind of data processing, we have operating systems. For example, you have Microsoft Word, iOS. So drivers, if you put some printer, then it requires certain driver to work, like the networking software is also there. There are certain telecommunication processors. So these process the indeterminate data. So again, system software, 2 ways, determinate and indeterminate. This is the first category of application. This is the first application domain. Next one is the application software. That is, it is made to solve a specific business need, specific requirement. For example, a hospital management system. We'll talk about inventory management system in a bit, but these are the application software that are solving certain business need, specific. And since we are doing engineering, we are talking about engineering, we have engineering and scientific software. So this figure is actually showing the application software. You have mail systems, you have different, specific need. So let me come back to engineering specific software. So here we have number crunching programs. That is, you have to do a big job. For example, NASA or ISRO is sending some rover to, say, Mars. It is very specific. it requires a lot of computation. So we have astronomy, volcanology, automotive stress analysis, orbital dynamics. These are just few examples. So these are engineering and scientific softwares. So now we have seen about system software, application software, and engineering scientific software. So these are three. So as I was telling, there are 7 broad categories. So we need to see few more. Next one is embedded software. The name itself suggests it is embedded, means this software is inside something, is embedded somewhere in the form of hardware. For example, you want to autofocus your camera. You are going on a flight, you see in cockpit, you have software. Aviation control is all done by software. For example, you are going from India to say United States. The flight is quite long, 14-15 hours. Okay. And here we have the autopilot. This is software. This is embedded software. Even if in your microwave oven, you will find it. Even in your automobile, the good automobiles, the conveyance, different conveyance, the Volvo buses, all these have different braking systems, and these are governed and handled by the embedded software. Coming to product line software. As we just talked about inventory control products. So these software are designed and made for a specific capability, but it will be used by different customers. Let me also add up the e-commerce website or e-commerce app. So these are product line softwares. One software is used by multiple customers at the same time. Web mobile applications, this is another category. So here we are talking about the network-centric software. So we are talking about the apps or applications that are working or accessed through browser, and apps also in mobile devices. For example, WhatsApp. You can use WhatsApp on your mobile. You can use WhatsApp on your browser also. I'm not saying that this is a specific category, but web and mobile applications have multiple product it can give. Now coming to the latest technology, which is although making news, is artificial intelligence software. So now today's scenario is all about robotics, about the expert system, about the pattern recognition like image and voice. We have artificial neural network, we have deep learning, machine learning, supervised, unsupervised, game playing. So it is mimicking the human brain. So these are the software which actually are made to mimic the human perception, human intelligence and brain. So these are certain AI software. I'm not saying that these are actually, because these on TensorFlow you will code to make a particular product. Legacy software. So legacy means something which is given to you by your elders. Legacy, or which is coming or which is there with you for a long time. Because software has an age. There are older programs. So these legacy programs, legacy softwares are basically older programs. And let us give a date. We are talking about those softwares that were built after 1960s. So they are continuously being used. We are quite concerned over them because we need them. So this is a picture I wanted to just show the 10 most critical federal legacy systems which are still being used. So there are two observations I'll tell, Diane and Ford. These two gentlemen, they said that legacy software systems, they were developed a long back, decades ago. Okay, but they are solving the business requirements. They are continuously being modified because there are different technologies and computing platforms. And because of the excess or the proliferation of such system is actually causing some problem. Because maintaining a software, to change them is as good as making a new software. So the cost and the effort and the risk it's involved when we are dealing with a legacy software, those already being made multiple years ago or many years ago, right? So this was one observation by Diane and Ford about the legacy software. Now, let me give you an example. Windows 7, the support is not there. How to work with software which is working on Windows 7 made developed. So Liu said that many legacy systems, they are so important that they are indispensable. That is, they are inevitable. You cannot change them. You cannot get another software in place of them. Okay, because these legacy software, according to Liu, is characterized by the longevity, that the time span, how much critical they are for your business, for your work, for your job, for mainly, you will go to the defense services and some government software which are legacy software mostly. But here comes the quality. If you want to have a car which is quite old, you will have problems. We are talking about quality here. So why the legacy softwares are considered to have poor quality? Why it is not working the way it is today? It was very good when it was being made. So the quality is a problem here, because in case of software, the designs are inextensible. Once it is being made, you cannot extend it. Convoluted code means very, very hard code, very difficult to understand. The documentation is either very, very less or not there. The maintenance job, that is the history, what was the changes being made, it is not there. Okay, but I'm not saying that Oracle is there, Google is there, they have completed 1 or 2 decades, but still we are using it and they are on the top, Facebook even, So there are legacy softwares, you can consider them as a legacy software. But there are certain software which needs to change because of their poor quality. So the question arises, why must it change? First thing is, the life is changing, world is changing, environment is changing, technology is changing. So the software need to adapt, software need to change according to the new environment. That is, the new requirements are there and the software needs to be enhanced to fulfill that requirement. So the software needs to be changed. Even the legacy software, today's software. And software must be extended. It has to be added with certain, say, not interoperable kind of stuff. Because there are modern systems. Databases are changing. Previously it was Oracle. Now we are working on MongoDB. So the software needs change. And software may be re-architectured. The framework has to be changed. Because previously it was single system, say. Now the network environment is there. Most of the things are working on or they are available on the network environment. So I hope you got the idea. Why must it change? Web apps or web application. So web, most of us think web is all about internet or data. But when it started, World Wide Web, this is what it started from 1990 to 1995. I'm talking about web apps. Apps are applications basically. Software, application, programs. Let us consider them as same now. So we are talking about the internet era, the World Wide Web era. So here websites were made. And websites were, you will be surprised to know this is the Yahoo website. Can you imagine this was the Yahoo website. And it has just some text, very limited graphics, nothing flashy, no Java, no jQuery, no JavaScript, nothing. It was very, very simple, but people were using it. And it was kind of, a leap beyond what people have thought earlier than this. But HTML progressed. There were development tools. There are different XML technologies, Java, as I just mentioned, jQuery and JavaScript, etc. They came into being. So now the web apps or web applications or the World Wide Web or the website have enhanced themselves, have emancipated their level. So the web-based systems and the application, we will call them collectively as web apps now, right? So that is how they were born, web-based applications and systems and applications. So these are web apps, right? So now today we talk about web apps. It's just not simple web application. They are being integrated with the big, huge corporated databases. They are solving the business application. They are there for them. And they are providing all the full computing potentials. You have cloud computing, we have distributed computing. So many things are there. For example, IRCTC, if you means this is the way how we book ticket, railway ticket. But I'm just giving an example. That this kind of web apps are available. You are having in your hand the mobile and all applications are there. So web apps have certain characteristics, peculiar characteristics, which are other than the software and apps, etc. First is, it is quite network intensive. That is, first of all, it will have a network because web app reside in a network and there are different clients working on it. Concurrency, if you are booking a ticket, say a railway ticket, I'll give an example on it for India, that if you want to book a ticket at 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock it starts. So there is a chance of unpredictable load also. That is at 10 o'clock, say the sleeper class opens, 12 o'clock the air conditioned class open. Now how many people are going to book at the same time? You don't know. So these are the unpredictable load. Maybe some festival people want to go home. And what about performance? If you are making a web app and you see that the performance is not good, some round hourglass is coming, people will go to somewhere else. Availability. See, few days back the WhatsApp, Facebook was not there. Means it went down for say 6 hours. And people all over the world went crazy because now they have dependency on it. Availability is an issue. We need 24/7, means in a day 365 in a year. So now here we are talking about data driven. Previously it was just text and some graphics. Now we have audio, video, everything is there. If you talk about YouTube, it is having billions and billions of GB of data every second, every minute. Context sensitivity, which we are talking about, the way it is looked and the quality it provides, the working experience. Continuous evolution, because the things are changing. Conventional application software, they were designed, planned, it takes a long time. But web application cannot wait for that. It has to evolve continuously. Immediacy. Immediacy means if you're making a software and your counterpart or say your adversary makes it prior than you, releases it prior than you, your business is a flop then. Security. When we are working on internet, when we are dealing with people, there are good people, there are bad people. There are jails or correction centers in every city. Why? Because there are bad people. So the security, safety aspect is always there because multiple people are working together. So web apps is the main characteristic is security and safety. And most important is what looks good. You want to eat it. So aesthetics. Things should be clean, good looking. Mobile applications. Mobile, cell phone, everyone has it now. That means if I take you back 15, 20 years ago, it was considered as a luxury. But now, mobile is a necessity. Every work, almost every work is done on mobile. So how does it work? It employs applications. So we will be talking about the software, app, etc. under one umbrella called applications. So if you see a mobile here, it works through apps. So you install certain applications or apps, and this mobile application, here the software or the applications are specifically designed to work on a mobile platform. What is mobile platform? We are talking about different operating system, Apple iOS, Android, the Windows Mobile, and there are so many others. So, see, the difference of mobile with the computer has blurred. Why? Because if I just say a computer, if I talk about a tablet, the processing of mobile is now almost comparable to all these. I'm not saying that it has replaced computer or the other computing device, but some of the mobiles, they have the computing power and resources higher than the present day computers. So this software app is designed for them. So the mobile, the apps, they are accessing relevant information. So the app or the software, these are web-based resources. They are accessing the relevant information. That is, it is solving your purpose, some or the other purpose. Okay. So the local processing capability, that is the software app, we need the local processing capability and what it should do, collect, analyze, and there has to be a persistent storage which all the mobiles have. Some of them have 32 GB, 64, even 128. And finally, the format information. Because we are talking about the app or the information which has to be stored and shown in the format which is designed or formatted so that the user can see it on his or her mobile. This is what we are talking about, format. Now, whenever we talk about mobile applications, you will generally see people talking about mobile web applications or mobile apps or simply apps. But there is a difference between a mobile web applications and a mobile apps. Though they both seem similar, but when we'll discuss, you will understand that there is a vast difference. So let us try to understand what Pressman sir has said. A mobile web application, or normally we call it as a web app, this will allow your mobile device, which you see here, to access the web-based content, that is the internet or the data in normal language we say, via a browser. This is very important. It accesses everything through browser. It can be Opera, it can be Chrome, it can be any other. Okay, so whenever you buy a mobile, you will see that a browser will be there, and this browser is different from what browser you use on your computer or any other system. And this browser is specifically designed for the mobile platform you are using. It may be any operating system for which this is designed. Now coming to the mobile app, here we don't need browser. So the mobile app simply can gain direct access to your hardware, because a mobile has different hardware. For example, GPS is a hardware, a camera is a hardware, and along with this mobile app, for this the system will provide local processing and system will also provide the storage. So let us see the difference one by one. We'll start with the pure mobile website, or you can say the content which is accessible through browser. The first thing is, I'm talking about web application, okay, mobile web application. This is accessed through browsing. Since it is through navigation, hyperlink, etc., so it is navigational user interface. It requires connection because you are working on browser needs connection. And since you are dealing with whole internet through the browser, it can attract larger audiences. Relatively, it is inexpensive, and the limited feature characteristic is there. The features are somewhat limited. But when we talk about pure mobile app, this is accessed after being installed. For example, Zomato, for example, Food Panda, or any other, in your country. So you have to install that app, for example, ticket booking app. In pure mobile website, it was navigational user interface. Here we have interactive user interface. That is, you interact through, say, your finger or any other touch technique. Right now, some of the apps may require internet, but most of the apps, they don't require it. Better user engagement because you are interacting, because it is interactive user interface. Relatively inexpensive as compared to your other one. And as I said, because it is a pure mobile app, it can employ the phone features like the camera, like the location, like the GPS we already discussed. Cloud computing. What is a cloud computing? See, cloud, whenever it is about to rain, you'll see clouds. Normally also you see cloud. And when we talk about computing, say I give you number 5 plus 2 equals 7. This is a very basic example. So this is computing. So how does a cloud compute? So this is a name of a new technology, new architecture basically. So you see a picture here. This is your system and you are just connecting it through cloud. And when you are connected to a cloud, the cloud is able to give you the processing power, the application, the platform, the infrastructure, most of the thing. So let us see the actual cloud computing. Cloud computing is actually an infrastructure, or you can call it as a whole ecosystem. A whole ecosystem that will enable you as a user. You can be anywhere. Now you can use a computing device And you can also share computing resources. So cloud computing is actually sharing of different things to multiple people at the same time. You see here there are certain systems which are connected on the left to the cloud. So let me add some more thing like computing device. You see a server, a laptop, a desktop, a phone and a tablet. These are residing outside the cloud and they are accessing the resources. As you see here, the application, application means a software basically. So for example, your company has 100 employees. So are you going to buy 100 computers and 100 software? Is it feasible for you? If it is not, just rent a cloud. You can just install somewhere and everyone can access it. So applications you can have. Platforms, as I said, operating system, it is providing you the platform also and even the infrastructure. Now this is the headache of the cloud company, cloud computing company to provide you the infrastructure services. So application, platform, infrastructure. See, how do you access the cloud now? As you are on a laptop, how do you connect it? So you can either use the web browser or the company might have given you some software that we may call it as analogous software like the web browser. Okay. So this is how the external cloud devices access it. So the cloud is providing you the access to the data, information, etc. So data is residing where? In the databases and in the data structure. And also you have applications as I just suggested, executable applications. So you don't have to install the software or create a big infrastructure if you don't want to. You can just have a cloud. One important thing here to understand is this cloud computing. This is basically a logical architecture of a cloud computing. So whatever is outside here are the computing devices which want the services, which will access the services. For example, application. So if you're a stockbroker, you need some software, some application. And these are the platform, that is the different data structure, databases, etc. And infrastructure, of course, you need hardware for that. For example, storage, backup, network, cables, computers, means big computers like. So these platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, all this comes under cloud computing. So if you are insisting or if you want to develop a cloud computer or computing, what do you have to do? So in order to implement the cloud computing, there are two things which are required, of front-end services and back-end services. These need to be developed. So you are developing an architecture for front-end and back-end. So the question comes, what will be the front-end? The client, of course, the user device and the application software, because browser or the software which the company has given, say Azure has given you or say the IBM company has given you. So the browser and the analogous software can be used. So what will be in the backend? Of course, the server, the computing resources, the databases, this application which may be on your server. There may be some administrative servers also. And in between there will be a middleware. Now, how to access, say from your computer or mobile, a cloud? You need a middleware. Middleware is a different, again a technology. So just to give you an idea, this is a kind of a protocol which govern or coordinate or monitor the incoming, outgoing traffic, because you need to access the cloud and its resources. And because the safety security is also involved, so the cloud architecture is divided, segmented, categorized to provide access to different levels. Because the safety SNS, safety security is important. You can provide full public access, or even for those who are authorized, you can give private access. So this is about cloud computing. Product line software. Now here we have a product, we have a line, and software. Line means straight. So one line means one line definition I can give you is the products which are similar in the same line. So for a formal definition, SEI, the SEI has given definition for various software related, software engineering related concepts. So Software Engineering Institute, I need to read it because I am going to explain it. A set of software intensive systems. So we'll talk about this set of software intensive system with an example that share a common. So software intensive system, that means the systems which are mainly related to software, they are sharing certain common things. Manage set of features satisfying the specific need of a particular market segment or a mission. That means the software is made for a single common objective for a single part of the market. I'll give you an example of onboard driver monitoring system. So we are talking about a field for which this software is being made or developed. Okay. So the line of software products, they all are developed or they are done using same underlying application. This is very important for data architectures and reusable component. For example, calendar, you can use it as a already built reusable component. So this will give you some leverage, engineering leverage, because already the application, first application, second application, data architecture is known, and even you can reuse the content. So now see here, I'm talking about product. There are three products in three different circles you see. So this first may pertain to some business goals, say some application domain. For example, you are using or making a software of GIS, Geographic Information System. So there is a business goal. People who are planning a city or hydrology people, everyone is using it, and it is satisfied by architecture, because all these three software which you see here, example I'm giving, they are sharing the same software and they are also using the same component services. Okay, so this is the very important thing, because this product line software, this gives you an economic advantage. You have made one software, now you can just edit it or customize it for other one with basic variation. So I'm talking about an example, onboard driver monitoring system. Okay, so driver monitoring system on board, that means the software will be on some board, then we are monitoring. So here the SCI, every part of the definition we are going to cover here. First is set of software intensive system. So what will be the set of software intensive system? All the systems, all the software you are going to make for onboard driver monitoring. This is an example. Okay, so it can be in your Rogue, it can be Mercedes, it can be Volvo. Second thing which comes in this definition is sharing a common managed set of features. So here what we are doing, say because you are talking about driving, there has to be some recommended limits. You may be able to record or report and display. These are sharing common managed set of features. And then comes satisfy certain need, some common mission, some part of the market. Okay, so this is basically onboard monitoring and reporting system, because you are only targeting the onboard monitoring reporting system only. You are not talking about any other thing. So this is satisfying a specific need of particular market segment of mission. And then comes the development from a common set of core assets. That is whatever is there, because as I said, architecture is same. The components and services you can use because what is the message formatting, all these things are there. This is product line software. So this is the first chapter we have covered, the nature of software engineering Pressman. Thank you.